Hello everyone, this is Jed Schlackman. In the current video I'll be speaking about energetic anatomy and energetic biology. In the field of health and wellness, energy and vibration are something that have been somewhat neglected here in our modern Western culture for a long time, and it's just now becoming more recognized and better received and integrated into our healthcare system. But there's still a lot of neglect of the energetic nature of who we are and working at the energetic level to support and foster our health and well-being. In many cultures and traditions of the past, the idea of our energetic or spiritual nature, in a sense, was seen as fundamental, and there was much more emphasis on that. So in cultures that have medicine men or shamans, they work with what they call the luminous body or light body or aura. In the yogic traditions, they work with prana, the life force, and with kundalini. In the Asian traditions in China and surrounding areas, they've worked a lot with what they refer to as qi or ki, the life force energy. In these different traditions, there may be different words or terms used to refer to some of these concepts, but the fundamental concepts are very consistent. We can also relate them to our modern scientific and technological terminology as we discuss things like electricity and electromagnetism. So I'll speak here about energy, subtle energies, electromagnetic energies, and how we can communicate or use language to discuss these phenomena. First, I'd like to refer to what I'll call waves. So if we think about energy oscillating or pulsating, it moves in a wave, just like the current in the ocean can be seen as a wave, right? The surface of the water, there's a tide. As the energy moves through the water, it causes waves to rise and fall. So with electricity, we observe that phenomenon also. If you look at an EKG or an EEG, the electrical activity of the heart or the brain, you'll see there's a waveform that's shown on the screen as you're monitoring that. So waves are forms of energy that tend to be oscillating or pulsating, so there's a rhythm to it in a sense. Next, we can consider currents or circuits of energy, where energy is flowing along a certain path from one area to another. If you think about a river, the river of water has a current. The water is flowing in a particular direction. So with subtle energy and electromagnetic energy, energy is following some sort of a path and flowing in a circuit or current. In our bodies, we could look at what are called meridians. Those are the major energy currents or circuits that are defined in Chinese medicine. And there you have energy circulating along a particular path going through the body. We can also consider the concept of energy fields. And we have the term biofield, and that just means the field of life energy that surrounds and nurtures our physical body. People often refer to that as the aura in metaphysical terminology. It's also sometimes referred to as an energy body, and you can have different energy bodies or layers of that energy field given different names or labels. In metaphysical teachings, you'll find people refer to the emotional body, the mental body, the spiritual body. There are also terms that are used such as the etheric body or etheric blueprint, the astral body, the causal body, and a few others, depending on which particular system, which tradition that you're looking into. So the basic idea of waves, currents, and fields are discussed a lot. There's another one that I would like to mention, which is the idea of an energy center or vortex. So let's add that one here. So we have examples of that with the chakras, which are major energy centers. In the Chinese medicine tradition, they speak of the dantian, so the lower, middle, and upper energy centers correlating to those parts of the body. And there you have energy going through kind of like a portal or vortex, and it's as though it's coming from the higher intensity or higher frequency spiritual realm in toward the physical realm. So with all of these forms of subtle energy, and even with looking at the electromagnetic energy that's detected as people measure the physical body, such as the EEG, EKG, and so on, we can ask, okay, so where is that energy ultimately coming from? Where is the energy for anything that we perceive here in the physical plane coming from? That includes every material object, the particles that those objects are made of, the atoms, the molecules. There has to be some form of energy that's generating or manifesting those things that we're perceiving with our five senses. There's an energy that's giving a cohesion or coherence to every atom in existence, that's holding that together in a sense, that's keeping it in its form or structure, in its pattern of functioning. So with all of that in consideration, we can see that the energetic aspect of our human self is quite important and really vital in terms of what's, let's say, manifesting the physical body and maintaining the physical body, keeping things flowing and functioning, keeping things in a form of order or coherence and integration. There are many traditions that look at this. As I mentioned, you have the Chinese medicine tradition, the idea of qi. You have Ayurveda and yoga from India, where they speak about prana. And you have other words like mana, or just life force, that are discussed in some of the indigenous cultures around the world. In our modern era, we have people that are, in a sense, accumulating or compiling, that might be a better word, compiling this knowledge, putting together the information from these many different traditions, and sort of cross-referencing it with what we're able to observe and detect with our modern technology with scientific studies and so on. So you can find a variety of textbooks and articles, references now, that explore our energetic anatomy, the different parts of our energy system, our energy bodies, chakras, meridians, nadis, all of these things that we discuss when we're looking at the energy system. I'm going to show you a few books here that are popular references on some of these topics. So here's one, Subtle Energy Body, A Complete Guide. Another one here is The Subtle Body, an encyclopedia of your energetic anatomy. We have one here called The Encyclopedia of Energy Healing. And another one I'll show you is Light Emerging, which is one of 3 books by Barbara Brennan. So these are just some reference books that you can look into if you're interested in exploring a lot more detail about the subtle energy systems, looking at how people have mapped out the flow and functioning of these waves and currents and fields of energy. Also the centers or vortexes of energy, and how all of that relates to our physical body, to what we're perceiving on that physical level that might be manifesting. Going back to the bigger question I mentioned of where ultimately does this energy come from, you could think of it as there's an infinite spiritual energy source or spiritual energy potential that's being projected and condensing through different layers, in a sense, or different octaves of frequency, until it coalesces into what we perceive here as physical reality and form. So it's on those deeper levels or layers where the patterns are actually being generated to bring about what we perceive here as this physical creation. So it's that energy and information, that spiritual source and consciousness that's the ultimate source of these subtle energies and of the electrical and magnetic energies that science, our modern technology, is accustomed to measuring. Since we have to use physical devices and technology to measure and detect things, it's quite logical to consider that there's frequency ranges or octaves of energy beyond what our devices are able to sense and measure. And that's where we consider the concept of subtle and spiritual energy, where those layers of energy are beyond what our 5 senses can usually perceive and beyond what modern scientific instruments are able to detect or perceive. However, they have an effect, an impact and influence on the things that can be perceived. So we can measure and observe things with science, and there's always a limit to what we can understand because we're never perceiving the whole system. We're only perceiving a certain range or layers of that entire system. So our consciousness, our spirit, our subtle energy field is always kind of at work behind the scenes and having an impact or influence. So that's always a variable, something that can't really be controlled for when people are doing research in the sciences. For those that are interested in energy healing, I invite you to visit my website, phinsights.com, You can learn a lot more there from other references I have and other things I've written or recorded videos about. And if you're interested in healing sessions, either in person or remote, you're welcome to contact me about that. For now, I'd like to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.